Portugal is voting for a new government. That's for the third time in 3 years. After less than 12 months in power, the Portuguese Prime Minister Luis Montenegro was brought down by a no-confidence vote after a scandal linked to his family's business. But what else is behind Portugal's political instability, and can it be resolved? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, Portugal is going to the polls again after another political crisis, which saw the fall of its centre-right Prime Minister, Luis Montenegro. The politician is running again for his Social Democratic Party, despite allegations of corruption from the opposition, which he denies. But how enthusiastic are the public to vote again? And is this a chance for the rising far-right to gain ground?
Portugal's third elections in 3 years, after its prime minister lost a vote of no confidence and Luis Montenegro's centre-right government collapsed. It came after growing accusations of a conflict of interest over his family business. The opposition has raised ethical concerns, but Montenegro denies any wrongdoing.
The Socialist Party wants the situation of impasse, doubt and suspicion to continue so that it can make political gain out of it.
His government's fall marks the worst period of political instability in the last 50 years of Portuguese democracy.
I think honestly that this is opportunism from the opposition parties towards the government. In my view, the government has done more in 1 year than the previous one in 8 years.
I have a feeling that the idea of having early elections is becoming common and people start to think it's normal, but it is not normal. And the other thing that affects people is that politicians appear to be less and less honest, and this confuses people.
The Democratic Alliance came to power last year when Socialist Prime Minister António Costa resigned amid a corruption scandal. The crisis has intensified public frustrations and boosted support for the far-right Chega party. With elections approaching, uncertainty looms as the nation's political future faces a critical test.
Well, let's meet our guests. Joining us from Lisbon, we have Joao Pedro Louro. He is president of the Social Democratic Youth Party and a candidate in the elections. In London, we have Mafalda Damaso, also a candidate in the elections for the LIVRE party. And joining us from Namur in Belgium, we have Nelson Santos. He is a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Namur. You're all very welcome to Roundtable. Mafalda, I'll come to you first. 3 elections in 3 years. Portuguese people must be tired of voting, are they?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. Portugal was a military dictatorship from 1926 to 1974, so that's around half a century. And there were elections, actually, during that period. And since the end of the dictatorship, the idea of free elections is something that the Portuguese celebrate. And so they are not tired of voting, no. They are tired of instability, that absolutely. And they're tired of growing housing costs with stable income. They are tired of being exhausted, which is why LIVRE, for example, supports a 4-day work week. They are tired of not being sure if they'll be able to access hospitals because there's been marketization and privatization of the national health system. I really don't think that elections and having to vote is seen as a burden. It's actually the opposite. It's a great thing to be part of a functioning democracy.
Mafalda, thank you. Let's go to Joao Pedro. Joao Pedro, Mafalda has touched upon some of the issues there: housing, healthcare, stability that's needed. I mean, for the future of Portugal, a stable government is absolutely a prerequisite now.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me and for the opportunity to discuss the political and the electoral situation in Portugal. It's a pleasure to be here, as this is a crucial moment for our country. And I would love to know what will happen on May 18, but anything can happen in politics. Of course, our expectation is to achieve a victory and to increase the number of votes we received last year. We are working toward that and are absolutely focused on sharing our message with the Portuguese people because a year ago we embarked on an important transformation journey for Portugal. And we do not want to turn back after the Socialist Party has been in power for the past 8 years, leaving the country stagnant and with high social instability in various sectors of activity. However, it's clear that we would like to secure a majority that would allow us to govern with stability. We will see if it is possible to reach that majority, even with other parties, particularly with the Liberals. Even today, a poll was published here in Portugal that shares the possibility of our coalition with the Liberals being closer to achieving a majority, an absolute majority. And if does not happen, I think political parties must take responsibility for the outcome.
Thanks, Joao Pedro. Let's bring in Nelson. Nelson, do you agree that the key issues for the Portuguese people are housing, healthcare, and the basic of having a stable government?
Hi, thank you for having me. And before I answer directly to your question, let me just say that regarding the voter fatigue that you mentioned about, it's true that we are going to have 3 elections in less than 12 months. So we have now national elections and local and then presidential. But at the same time, I don't think we should focus much on that and do not make really a fuss about that. Because, for example, in the last elections, the abstention was as low as in 1905. So basically, we have been on this trend of increasing voter turnout, and this is a very good thing. But also theoretical, the more opportunities people have to vote, more mechanisms of accountability and opportunities of accountability there are to decide on these matters. But regarding the issues, it's clear that when we see the data from polls that are usually done every a couple of months, we know that housing crisis is a huge problem. We know that the health service is a huge problem. The question here is to see to what extent the political parties and not only the political parties, but also the media and the mainstream parties are also focusing on those issues. And we have to say that there are some issues that are not that salient among public opinion, like, for example, defense and so on, that have been pushed forward a lot in the agenda, in the campaign. And although housing issues and the health system is also discussed because it's a huge problem, of course, it's not as salient as the problem for people. So we should think about it and also think if the parties are to blame, but also the way that campaigns are being made and also the debates are being led, because we are having debates now, and also how the media is covering this campaign.
Thanks, Nelson. Mafalda, to you, tell me, how damaged do you think Luis Montenegro, the Prime Minister, is by that recent scandal about the company that he had set up as a consultancy? How damaged is he in the eyes of the Portuguese public?
Well, yes, unfortunately, and I say this really believing in it. You know, LIVRE is a party that believes and wants stability, and we believe in the normal functioning of democracy. And so if there is a government for full term and during that period we are in opposition, that is how things work. And we place stability and the well-being of the Portuguese above everything else. And unfortunately, what happened is that former Prime Minister Luis Montenegro clearly violated the law of exclusivity. And I have to say that it was to such an extent that several constitutional experts, who are usually very quiet and do not comment on political issues, came forward and spoke to journalists saying that the Prime Minister had clearly violated the law and that he could no longer stay as Prime Minister, so that he would have to quit or be pushed out by other institutions. And unfortunately, again, the Prime Minister did not decide to quit and to lead or to allow the right, his party, to eventually continue with, with a full term of this legislature. He decided to take the whole party with him. And I think that the Portuguese see that this is absolutely self-centered, completely unnecessary, and that it is creating instability at a time when, as was just mentioned, we have war at the borders of Europe. We still have inflation costs, or we have housing costs that are very high. We have the situation
I can
in
see
the US.
Joao Pedro is shaking his head, he's not agreeing with you. Joao Pedro, give us your take then on Montenegro and where he stands.
Yeah, because regarding the accusations against the Prime Minister, the truth is that there is no conflict of interest whatsoever. We are talking about a Prime Minister who had a professional career before entering politics, who owned business and worked hard. And I'm sorry, Mafalda, but this is not a crime. We have been witnessing a sad episode for our democracy, as politics should focus on the debate of ideas, not personal attacks. And the truth is, while opposition parties demand more clarifications, they fail to specify what information they seek. And lastly, if there were any sort of illegality, our independent justice system would take action. However, the truth is that there is no ongoing investigation or any accusations.
Well, that may well be the point, Joao Pedro. I want to come to Nelson. Nelson, does it pass what we call the sniff test? If it doesn't smell good, you've got a Prime Minister setting up a consultancy, getting in big contracts. How does that look to the Portuguese public?
So we should say, and we should consider that we already had these kind of legal problems. And one of the things that happened, that we know that in 2024, we had a government with an absolute majority, and the government was had to step down because there was this public prosecutor statement that claimed something that then the investigation didn't came forward with anything, and we cast a shadow on politicians without any base or any proof. And at that time, he had the opposition party, in this case, the Social Democratic Party and Luis Montenegro, making use of that scenario, and also coming forward with a lot of reforms, a lot of things that they would do when in government. And we have to say that that agenda fell short of it, and it didn't really apply during this year that it was governed. But we have to say that, although I'm not a specialist on this matter, and there are some disagreements between if what the Prime Minister did, it's clearly a crime or not, it's quite clear that we are facing an ethical problem. And the Prime Minister basically transformed a personal problem into a government problem. And we have to say that even some elites within the party came forward and said and highlight that this situation should not be acceptable. Even those that are aligned with the party in TV, some of them come forward saying the Prime Minister should have done differently. And the problem with this is that the Prime Minister triggered elections like having a plebiscite on his own actions. And this is problematic because we are kind of eroding some of the bases of what is a liberal democracy, And basically what he's saying is, if people vote for me, it doesn't kind of matter what I did. I have this legitimacy, but I don't think that this will disappear even if the Social Democratic Party wins elections, because if everything goes as planned, the Socialist Party said that would go for a commission on these actions. So I don't think that the problem will really disappear just because we will have elections.
Thanks, Nelson. Mafalda, just give me your take then on Montenegro running again. I mean, most countries would say you're out and you're not coming back, but he gets a second chance?
You know, LIVRE, we try to not comment on those personal decisions. It's his decision. And again, we have free elections in Portugal. And so Montenegro will face voters. And I personally and LIVRE, we do not see him being reelected, or at least with a substantial majority on his own, as was mentioned here. He would need, in any case, to work with the Liberal Party in order to manage to get a majority. But we still believe that a left-wing majority is possible. And I just want to remind very quickly our viewers that the most stable government recently in Portugal was a left-wing government with a minority. It was the Geringonça or contraption government. It was a government led by António Costa, who is now in the council, as we know. And he did not have the majority of the parliament, but he had support from several other left-wing parties. And we hope that there will be a new Geringonça, Eco-Geringonça with LIVRE, because that is what, based on past evidence, will give stability to Portugal and to the Portuguese.
Thanks, Mafalda. Joao Pedro, to you. I want to talk about this far-right party you have in Portugal, Chega, currently polling 21%. And I read in the Portuguese newspapers they are doubling their budget for this election. So they must be quite confident. Why are Chega so confident?
The truth is the far right is increasing in the past few years, but our coalition and agreement policy is very well defined. We are running in this election in coalition with the Christian Democratic Party and hope to gain the trust of the Portuguese people. We also know that there may be room for some understandings with the Liberal Party. We must wait for the final result to know what will happen. But there is one thing I am certain of. Our Prime Minister has stated several times that there will be no agreements with the far-right party, Chega, and we will stand firm on that decision for several reasons. Because it is not a reliable party and does not bring the stability that the country needs, because the political proposals are irresponsible, and I must say very socialist, and because this party does not have people of quality to govern the country, and I hope Portuguese people see that.
Thank you, Joao Pedro. Nelson, to you, what do Chega offer the Portuguese people then? What's their big solution to all the problems they see with regard to, I'm guessing, immigration and everything we hear from the far right?
So we have to say that the Chega discourse is mainly focused on this couple of things. So corruption, and he's always talking about corruption, about how every party that governed Portugal since 74 has been exactly the same, corrupted, the political system is corrupt, we need to change the political system and so on, but also focus a lot on immigration and tries to connect immigration with security. And basically, there is this idea that the party is always trying to put forward that we now feel more insecure because you have a lot of immigration and that is connected. Nevertheless, we know for the data that we have that there is no connection between immigration and security, and in fact, we don't have in the last couple of years more violent crime than before. So the party is always focusing on that and really heavily on immigration. But we have to say that to some point it has been successful in shaping the political discourse and debate in Portugal, because Right now, we have both the Social Democratic Party, both the Socialist Party, talking also a lot on this. It's a huge topic in Portugal. So at some point it shaped the agenda, but also shaped the policies because, and we have to say that even some political elites within the Social Democratic Party are saying some of the things that we know that the data show that is not true. And I'm talking, for example, the mayor of the capital in Lisbon, that also connecting the insecurity with immigration, that then we know by the data that it's not true. And it seems that it continues to go with that discourse. But also the Socialist Party changed somehow the discourse on immigration when it started to talk about these standard and common ways of living in Portugal, and the immigrants have to respect that and so on.
Mafalda, Chega talk a lot about corruption in Portuguese politics, but I read an incredible story. One of their politicians got kicked out because he got in trouble with the police for allegedly stealing suitcases at Lisbon airport. I mean, that has to be one of the strangest political stories I've ever heard.
Yes, absolutely. And I think this is also one of the things that unites all other parties in Portugal is the belief that when one looks at the percentage of politicians or members of parliament that were accused of crimes, it's clear that Chega is likely to be the one with the highest number. But that is a good example. There was an MP, a Chega MP, who was accused of stealing pieces of luggage while traveling from the Açores to Lisbon and then selling some of those items allegedly stolen while he was in Lisbon. Again, this is an ongoing investigation as far as I'm aware, but it's an interesting story. And there are other cases as well. There are accusations of allegedly, again, pedophilia and similar very complicated and ethical cases. But I want to say that as well, that Chega talks a lot about corruption, but the latest Eurobarometer on corruption, which is from 2024, asked the Portuguese if they'd been victims or if they'd witnessed corruption, and only 1% said that they had, when the average in the EU is 5%. So, Chega, as I see it, it's a balloon of hate, and that balloon is being deflated gradually. In fact, they've lost a lot already in the polls. I think they're going to continue to lose support in the next few years because people are tired, in fact, but they see that hate and that anger and shouting is not the solution. The solution is to work together and to create a better Portugal with better pay, and that needs serious people and not shouting. It needs real work, and that real work is something that LIVRE does, and I know that other parties as well do. And I hope that in the next elections, Chega's balloon will decrease and that will support stability for the next few years.
Thanks, Mafalda. Final point to you, Joao Pedro. I want to finish on the Portuguese economy. Doing very well, 2.7% growth last year, unemployment at 6.4%, income growth of 7% in Portugal. I mean, to keep that going, you need a stable government.
Yes, definitely. Our government has clear distinguishing marks that set us apart from all other political forces. First, we aim to increase the incomes of the Portuguese people through tax cuts, as well as by raising the minimum wage and pensions. Secondly, we strive for more efficient public services that can better serve the Portuguese people, particularly in health and education. Additionally, we want to address a serious challenge that Portugal faces regarding housing, as it was said. Therefore, we must be able to build more homes and make more properties available on the rental market. But I would like to highlight our commitment to youth. Portugal has served as an example, implementing measures to enhance the quality of life for young people and to prevent the brain drain we are experiencing. Some examples of these measures include a better tax regime for young individuals and support initiatives for first-time home buyers, which are truly important for young Portuguese people who wish to move out of their parents' homes and build their own path to happiness. So, but we also have focused on economic growth and attracting investment, because we believe that we need more and better companies in Portugal, capable of paying better salaries and creating wealth so that we can distribute it with social justice. To conclude, we just want to be allowed to work and fulfill the government program we presented a year ago.
Joao Pedro, Mafalda and Nelson, obrigado. Thank you all. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Just search for Roundtable TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all the team here, goodbye and thank you for watching.